Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Reagan and this is my channel, Ray Ray Reads. And today I'm going to be doing Taylor Swift songs as book recommendations. Yeah. So this is an idea that I actually got based on Candy Steiner, who is a romance author in the indie romance world. And I follow her on Instagram and she started doing these like TikTok reels where she'll post like a new one each day and it's like her books as Taylor Swift songs. So she's been like recommending her books based on Taylor Swift songs, which I thought was like super neat. And so I looked it up on YouTube to see if anyone had done it before, and plenty of people have done it before, so it's not super original. I'll link some more down below. I haven't actually watched any of them yet because I literally had this idea this morning when I woke up, and then I went ahead and wrote down the songs and then the books that I had ideas for. It did take me a while to kind of come up with some, but other than that, some of them came like instantly to me like the moment I heard the words. But I will link the other ones down below and then I'll probably go watch those later because I'm really interested to see what other people have to say about her songs and books as well. So I'll link a couple that I can just like quickly find down below. Taylor Swift is like a really perfect person to do for romance books because obviously all of her songs are about love or about heartbreak, and so I feel like that pairs really well with the kinds of books that I read on my channel. So I just thought this would be a really fun video idea and just something that was inspired by Candy Steiner and other people apparently, because I didn't know that this existed. So anyways, I'm not like a huge Taylor Swift fan. Like I feel like some people are like obsessed with Taylor Swift. They breathe, eat, sleep her music. Like they are obsessed with her. I'm not totally obsessed with her. I do love her music and enjoy it. I like more of her older stuff more than like her newer stuff. That's just me. I loved the republished Red album, but that's because Red was my all-time favorite Taylor Swift album. But like her new stuff like Folklore and Evermore, not really my favorite, not my cup of tea, but there's a couple of songs on there that I do really jive with. But so I tried to have one song from every single one of her albums on here. I tried my best. I don't know if I covered every single one. There might be a couple repeats from a certain album. I'm not sure. I kind of just thought about a lot of my favorites and some that I think would be really good to be paired with another book. We'll go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm so excited about these recommendations. A lot of them I feel like I haven't recommended to you guys before, or I don't recommend them a lot. So I'm really excited about that. There is a couple that I'm like, I always recommend these, but I'm really excited. So the very first song when I started typing this out in my notepad that I wrote down was Red by Taylor Swift. This is not my favorite song by her ever, but it's just like, it's like a milestone in my head. Like I had to have this as a recommendation on here. So Red is just all about loving somebody so deeply and experiencing all the different kinds of colors as an emotion. So like she talks about loving him is red, but then she goes on to say like losing him was blue, and like just talks about like loving somebody very deeply that you feel it in like colors, which I just think is so beautiful and is such an incredible song because of the way that she wrote it. I feel like Taylor Swift is such an amazing songwriter, and so I felt like that pairs really well with books because she's really descriptive in her lyrics. So for Red, my book recommendation for Red is The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. This book is about a guy named Dean, I believe his name is Dean. Brooks. Oh my god, where did I get Dean from? Brooks and Maggie. And Maggie and Brooks are childhood friends. He is her stepbrother's best friend, and Maggie and her dad move in with her stepbrother and his mom and his sister, and they get married and they make a new family, and her stepbrother's best friend's name is Brooks, and this is him. And Brooks and Maggie form like an instant connection, and she is like absolutely obsessed with him, like loves him, is like, we're gonna get married, like is just like super flirty with him, and he's like, ew, leave me alone, like girls have cooties. And they just like grow to be friends. And one day she is meeting him out in the woods. They're supposed to be meeting each other for their wedding, and she actually sees something very horrific happen in the woods, and it causes her to become mute. And she also gets, I don't know what it's called, I think is it agoraphobia, but she is scared to leave her home, so she can't leave her house and she can't speak. She just feels really trapped in this moment that she experienced, and so Brooks kind of becomes her lifeline for her growing up. So he starts coming to the house and spending a lot of time with her, and they just grow an instant connection, and he is like basically trying to like save her and bring her back mentally and just like physically and just like help save her, and ultimately he is the one that also needs saving. And so this book I just feel like pairs so well because the connection that they have is so raw and real, but also there's moments where he does leave her. He is a musician and he has to go travel to be a musician with her brother, and it's something that she has to experience and go through, and she feels like her lifeline has left her. And so it just, I feel like it pairs so well with Red, and it gives me all the vibes, all the feels. So if this sounds interesting to you, pick up These Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. The next song that I thought of that was a pretty popular song is Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift. This is a really fun song. I feel like it was played on the radio a lot, so a lot of people do know it and are familiar with it. And I just like don't really, I don't know, some Taylor Swift songs I just like sing the words to it, but I don't actually comprehend what they really mean. And this was one of them. I ended up looking up the lyrics to try to find a good song that matched well with it. And the book that I'm going to recommend to you guys, I'm actually currently reading right now, so it's kind of like unfair for me to recommend it, but I am almost done. I have like 50 pages left. I'm like literally at the last like 90% of the book. But that is Flock by Kate Stewart. My physical copy is in the other room and I'm too lazy to go get it. But if you have read this before, you're probably knowing exactly what I mean. I literally typed out lyrics that were in the song Cruel Summer. So if you've read this book, you'll know exactly what I mean. The lyrics that made me think about it was, I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. What? Oh my god, I'm dead. And then another lyric is, it's cool, that's what I tell them, no rules in breakable heaven. I cannot, I literally read that and I was like, this is Flock. This is Flock. So anyways, if you don't know what Flock is about, I really can't tell you very much about it because I think you should just go into it super blind, but it is about a girl who is moving in with her dad, kind of like far away from her mom. She's leaving her mom, her parents are divorced, and she's moving with her dad who owns this like huge company. She's working for him for like a year so she can like gain her inheritance. And that's like really all you should know going into it, but she does fall in love and that's all I can say. So I don't really know where the rest of the series is going. I'm actually recording a vlog right now of me reading the entire series, so I'm only on Flock right now, and then the next book is Exodus, and then the third book is The Finish Line. So I'm not even finished with the series, so this might be a premature recommendation, but I just feel like for the vibe of Flock alone, like regardless of what happens in the rest of the series, the vibe of Flock alone is like perfect for Cruel Summer. So I just thought this was an excellent pairing and matchup, and if you haven't read Flock, I definitely recommend it. I'm really enjoying it right now, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes, but I just feel like those were a match made in heaven. The next Taylor Swift song that I have is Paper Rings, and the book that I mashed this up with is Inked in Lies by Gianna Darling. This is one of my all-time favorite books. I freaking love the Fallen Men series by Gianna Darling, and this is like one of my top favorites in that series. This is about Nova and Lila, and Nova is a few years older than Lila, but she is like grows up with him. Her brother is Nova's like best friend, and they kind of grew up together because her family situation is really terrible. So they like basically live at Nova's house with his family, and they grew up together, and she has a crush on him like all of her life. And I just feel like the Paper Rings song is all about like loving someone so much that you don't care about like the flashy life, you don't care about literally the ring, you don't care about any of that, you just would marry them in an instant with a paper ring. Like they just mean so much to you, and this book to me just gave me all of those feels. Eventually Nova grows up and ends up joining a motorcycle club called the Fallen Men, and Lila kind of gets sucked into that world, but she loves Nova so much and has loved him since she was a child, and he's kind of pushed her away because he just felt like he wasn't good enough for her, that she deserved better. And their love story is just so good, so phenomenal. It's so amazing, and the love that they share between each other is just so pure and sweet, and there's truly nothing like it. Like I literally will get emotional. I love them so much together. And Paper Rings is just like such an upbeat, fun song about like loving somebody so much that you don't even care if you have a diamond ring. All you want to do is just be with them, and that is exactly the energy that Nova and Lila give. So if you like that kind of energy, please pick up this book. I do recommend reading the series in order. This is book number 5, I believe, so I would recommend reading the series in order, but this one is so good and it just matches so perfectly with Paper Rings. The next song, I don't even want to talk about it. Teardrops on My Guitar by Taylor Swift. The book that I paired with this is Grip by Kennedy Ryan. I don't even want to talk about it. If you read this book, you understand. So the book Grip is actually the second book in a 3-book series. The very first book is a novella and sets up the rest of the series. So obviously you would want to start with Flow by Kennedy Ryan and then work your way into Grip, and then the third book is Still. I'm actually currently reading Grip right now, which I think is probably why it's like so fresh on my brain, and I'm just like in all the details, so I feel like this song just matches up perfectly. So this book is about a girl named Bristol and a guy named Grip. His real name is Marlon, but he goes by Grip. It's like a nickname that he got from high school, and Grip is a rapper and actually a successful one at that. And they both meet in the very first novella, Flow, and they just develop this instant connection and both kind of just like really fall for each other really quickly. Come to find out at the well, I'm not gonna spoil, but they kind of get hurt, or Bristol gets hurt by something that Grip does at the end of the book, and she is a little upset by that. And so we go into the second book, which is the first large normal sized book, Grip, and it's now like 8 years later, and she is managing Grip as his manager, and they are still friends, but they're not romantically involved, but Grip very much so wants to be, but Bristol has her hesitations, and she like definitely loves him and is really attracted to him, and they have this instant connection, but it's like something is holding Bristol back. And I picked this song, Teardrops on My Guitar, first of all because Grip is a musician and a writer, and this book is so about music as well as just like love, and I just felt like this pairs so perfectly with it. And then there was this line that I just got me. It says, "I wonder if he knows he's all I think about at night." And then she goes on to say, "He's the reason for the teardrops on my guitar." And then she says, "So I drive home alone. As I turn out the light, I'll put his picture down and maybe get some sleep tonight." So this book is really about loving somebody and like being sad that you can't be with them, I feel like. And Bristol very much so loves Grip, but can't be with him for her own reasons and her own reservations. And because of that, it makes her really sad, and as the reader, really frustrated, because you just want these two characters to be together so badly. But she has her reservations, and therefore she is choosing not to be with Grip. But this song, the essence of it just matches so well with Grip by Kennedy Ryan, and a recommendation for both. Like, great song, even better book. Like, please read these books by Kennedy Ryan. They're so good. They talk about so many things other than just music and love. It covers so many things, racial injustice. It's so amazing. Thoroughly enjoying it right now. I'm so excited to finish it. I'm almost done, and then I'm gonna move on to Still, which is the third book in the series. So please just do yourself a favor and read this book. Okay, so the next Taylor Swift song is actually one of my all-time favorite Taylor Swift songs, and that is Sparks Fly. This freaking song. I play this song in my car and I'll scream it at the top of my lungs. It is just absolutely one of my favorites of all time. And this song is really about two people just loving each other so much that they're willing to drop anything. And then when they're together, sparks are flying, and it's just like perfect. They are supposed to be together, and it's perfect when they are. And there's just this like chemistry and this force pulling them together. And so for that, I thought of Ruckus by LJ Shen. This is about Rosie and Dean, and Rosie is sick. She has, I don't know what she has actually, but I think she's supposed to die soon. Like, I don't think she's supposed to live very long. And she meets Dean early on in high school, and you kind of get a little bit of who they are and kind of a little bit of their story. If you read the very first book in the series, Vicious, this is the second book, but it's like a companion novel series, so you don't have to read one to read the other, but you kind of get a little bit of their backstory in the first one. But Rosie is sick, and Dean really wants to be with her, and when they are together, it is literally sparks flying. Like, they are meant to be together, and their love story is just so epic, and the love that they have for each other is just so evident. And I don't know, just when I think about this song, I just immediately think of Rosie and Dean together, and I don't know, it makes me weepy. So definitely pick up this book if you love the song Sparks Fly, and it's a good one. Okay, so for the next song, I chose Mine by Taylor Swift. This is a super popular song of hers, and I feel like I really needed to include it in this video because it is just a really popular one and all about loving somebody. And this song specifically talks about like thinking about the past and all the fun times they had together, and then flashing forward. We can see in the chorus, it says, "Do you remember we were sitting there by the water? You put your arm around me for the first time. You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter. You are the best thing that's ever been mine." And then it says, "Fast forward and we're taking on the world together, and there's a drawer of my things at your place. You learn my secrets and you figure out why I'm guarded. You say we'll never make our parents' mistake, but we've got bills to pay. We've got nothing figured out. When it was hard to take yes, this is what I thought about." And then she like talks about, "Do you remember sitting there by the water?" For this song, I chose Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is a book that I read in 2021, and just a amazing, phenomenal series. This is about Lo and Lily, and Lo and Lily have their own addictions. Lo is addicted to alcohol, and Lily is addicted to sex, and they both use each other in order to feed their addictions. But the love that they ultimately grow for each other is so truly amazing and something else. And I just think that specifically the line that says like, "We've got bills to pay, we've got nothing figured out," is really Lo and Lily. Like, they just don't have everything figured out, but they just know that when they think about the love that they have for each other and the memories that they hold close to their heart, they know that they're supposed to be together, and like, it's okay, even though they don't have everything figured out, and they've got bills to pay, and they've got trauma, and they've got things that they have to deal with, and they've got counseling and therapy and things that they have to get through, but they can do it with each other, and that's just so sweet and pure, and I just absolutely love it. And so when I think about this warm, sweet song, Mine by Taylor Swift, I just automatically thought of Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and Lily and Lo specifically, just their love coming together and being so sweet and just pure and kind and warm and everything. So I absolutely am obsessed with this book, and I'm absolutely obsessed with the series. If you have not read this book yet, what are you doing? I'm sure you've seen it all over Book Talk and Bookstagram, so get with the program, pick it up. It's amazing. It won't disappoint you. The next Taylor Swift song that I'm going to be recommending with the book is going to be Invisible String by Taylor Swift. This song is all about loving somebody and feeling like you have an invisible string that pulls you to them regardless of like what you guys have been through. And the book that I thought about for this that I have not recommended very often is To Love Jason Thorne by Ella Mays. This book is absolutely amazing. It's about a girl, I cannot remember her name right now, but she is best friends with Jason Thorne when they are children. It's actually her brother's best friend, and she just has always had a crush on him, like literally since day one. And then his parents, I think, either move away or pass away, and he ends up going with his grandfather to move in with him in LA. So he moves like all the way across the country to LA, and he ends up getting into acting, and he becomes this like famous actor. And then years later, our main character is a writer, and she writes a novel, and the novel is actually going up to be like turned into a movie. And so she is at this like huge meeting where they're bringing in these actors to determine like who is going to play who in the book. And the book that she wrote is actually like a romance. It's a love story between two characters, and the guy that she based all of her character on is all based on her longtime crush from her childhood, Jason Thorne, who is like actually famous now. So she's like based this character on her childhood crush, Jason, and then all of a sudden Jason Thorne walks into the meeting to try out to be the actor for this movie, to portray basically himself. Oh goodness, I almost dropped my phone. To portray himself in this movie based on the book that she wrote basically about him. It's crazy. But I just feel like the fact that they grew up as friends at first, and how she always had a crush on him, like since day one, since minute one, she's had a thing for him. And years later, they find each other again because of this simple thing, and they kind of strike up this romance, and it is absolutely beautiful. And I just think of An Invisible String. Like when I thought about that, I was like, this is the perfect book for that. Obviously, there's plenty of Friends to Lovers books that I think would go along well with this, but this one specifically, I just feel like has the same kind of vibe and energy of that invisible string that ties you to that person, and you're gonna find your way back to them no matter what. The next one was literally just a mind explosion. When I was listening to the song, I can't even hold it together. I immediately thought of this book, and the song is The One by Taylor Swift. And this song is all about being melancholy and sad about the fact that someone that you thought was gonna be the one was not the one. And that's like pretty much the premise of the song. And the book that I have for that is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know. It is literally perfect. It is absolutely perfect for the song. Like I was listening to it just like, I was in the car literally like, like this is perfect for the story. And I don't want to say why, and I'm not going to go into logistics, but dang, like this is literally The One by Taylor Swift. Like, oh my God. This is about Lily, and at the beginning of the book, she meets this guy named Ryle on the roof of her like apartment building, and they just strike up a conversation, and they kind of start developing a romance, and it flits back and forth between like her past and then her present when she's met Ryle. And in the past, it shows us how she fell in love for the very first time with her like the first love, Atlas, and we get their love story, and then we get the present love story with her and Ryle. And that is simply all I can say about this. It is incredible and has such a beautiful message, and it's Colleen Hoover, so like obviously it's gonna be amazing storytelling, and it's just phenomenal. I cried my eyes out, so does everyone else when they read it. It's absolutely amazing, and it is The One by Taylor Swift. Like it is, the vibes are there, the energy is there, and I can't even say anything else about it, but you need to read this, and then you need to listen to The One, and you need to do it at the same time because it's a marriage. It truly is. Like I swear they got together and planned it out. The next Taylor Swift song that I have for you is Dancing With Our Hands Tied. I'd actually never heard this song until today when I was trying to do my research for this video, and immediately when I was listening to it, I only had one thought and one thought only, and that is Stolen Soulmate by Mary Catherine Gebhard. You guys are probably so sick of me talking about this, so I really want to explain it in super depth, but the song Dancing With Our Hands Tied is really about like, I don't even really know how to explain. Let me just pull up the lyrics. lyrics. So the chorus says, I could have spent forever with your hands in my pockets, picture of your face in an invisible locket. You said there was nothing in the world that could stop it. I had a bad feeling. And darling, you had turned my bed into a sacred oasis. People started talking, putting us through our paces. I knew there was no one in the world who could take it. I had a bad feeling. But we were dancing, dancing with our hands tied, hands tied. Yeah, we were dancing like it was the first time. Yeah, we were dancing, dancing with our hands tied. Yeah, we were dancing and I had a bad feeling, but we were dancing. Oh, and then it says, I loved you in spite of deep fears that the world would divide us. So baby, can we dance, oh, through an avalanche? Please. This is legitimately Stolen Soulmate. Like if I've ever heard of a song, this, oh my God. Okay, so Stolen Soulmate is about a girl named Story and a guy named Grayson, and he is like super rich and is this like bad boy, and he like is just famous and rich, and he owns this like his huge estate, and he lives with his like mom and his grandfather, and like he's just a huge deal. And they have like maids, and they have like a whole slew of like cooks, and like they just have this huge estate. And Story is made at this huge estate, and she basically one day is like cleaning, and Grayson is dating a girl named Lottie, and so he is like, meet me in a closet, Lottie, so we can have some special times. So he like goes into this closet with the light off, and he's waiting for Lottie. Well, Story walks in, and all of a sudden Grayson grabs Story and they start kissing, and he's thinking that it's Lottie, and Story's like, whatever. So all of a sudden Lottie walks in and is like, what the heck? Like completely shocked, and is pissed at Grayson because she thinks that he's like cheating on her. And Grayson just like looks at Story, and he's like, I'm going to make you pay for this. So she becomes like his like personal servant, and she like is in his wing of the estate now. And oh my God, that is just the very beginning of a 3-book series that is absolutely amazing, and one of my favorite series of all time. In this book series, both of them really hurt each other a lot of times, and there are so many things keeping them apart. They obviously are gonna fall in love with each other because hello, it's a romance book, but there are so many things, like so many small things and big things that keep them apart, and it's like just the world around them that is forcing them to not be together. And it's just like literally like watching something burn down slowly. Like when I read this book, I think of Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer, because it's like, it's obviously headed for destruction and it's going to be very hurtful and harmful, but like these two characters love each other and they like have to be together. And so, oh my God, it is phenomenal, and it just like matches so well with Dancing with Our Hands Tied by Taylor Swift. Like the vibes are exactly paired up so well. So if you really enjoy that song, I think you would really like the vibes and the tropes in this book, and then vice versa. But I think even if you don't like that song, you need to read this book because it is absolutely amazing, and just know you're gonna die a little bit because it's so good. The very last song that I have for you guys is All Too Well by Taylor Swift. I could not do a Taylor Swift songs as books recommendation video without including All Too Well. This is my all-time favorite song by Taylor Swift, even before the 10-minute version came out. I have only listened, as I said earlier, Red is my favorite album by her, and I play a little bit of piano and like to sing, and so I will always like, that is my go-to song when I sit down at the piano, is I pull out All Too Well and I just jam out. And I've just been playing that song and listening to it for years, like literally since 8th grade when that album came out, and it's just one of my favorites. I really struggled finding a book to pair well with it, and I think that has to do with the fact that it is just one of my favorite songs that I feel like I couldn't find a book that would do it justice, and so it was just really hard. I feel like the song All Too Well tells the story of two people who love each other but continue to hurt each other, and they obviously don't end up together. Like, I mean, if you watch the 10-minute long movie that Taylor Swift made, it's very clear that the two people in the song, or that the song is about, really hurt each other, and it's not like a romantic song. It's actually quite melancholy and sad, and so that was really hard for me to pick a book that really paired well with that and matched well with it, because, you know, I read romances and most of the time they end in a happy place, and even when they do end sad, it's not like, I don't know, it's not in that way. So the book that I thought for this, that was the closest I could get, was A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. This book is just emotional, an emotional roller coaster in and of itself. This is a book about Poppy and Rune, and Poppy and Rune become best friends when they're kids when Rune moves into her neighborhood, and they just instantly connect. They're instant best friends, and fast forward a little bit, they end up like absolutely falling in love, and then they're in high school now, and they just like are absolutely in love with each other, and all of a sudden Rune's family has to move away, and they have to go back to the country that he's from, from for a couple years, and they have to say goodbye to each other. And when I tell you I cried for like 45 minutes reading the one moment in this book where they have to leave each other, it was too much for me. It was so emotional and it just destroyed me, wrecked my heart. It was terrible. Then a few years later, he ends up coming back to the hometown where Poppy lives, and they no longer know each other. They are completely different people than they were before he left, and they are both trying to pick up the pieces of the damage that they caused each other when Rune left, and after Rune left, shortly after, Poppy stopped talking with him, and so they both just like really hurt each other. And so it's just a really emotional story and takes you on such a roller coaster, and you learn so much about yourself and about love and about these characters in this story. And so this was the best I could do for All Too Well by Taylor Swift. I still don't think any book would really do it justice, because that's a certain type of vibe and feeling and emotion that song brings that it's really hard to capture in a book. So this was the best I could do for that one. Well, I believe that was 10. I think that was 10 songs, maybe it was 9, but I tried my best. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and chat with me down in the comments about what you would maybe pair with a different song, or if you have any other recommendations of Taylor Swift songs to certain books that you've read before. And then also, if you guys like this type of video, let me know if there's another artist that you would like to see me do this with. I had so much fun planning this video and filming it, so I would definitely be up to doing it again with a different artist. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget that down in the description box, you can find links to my social media. All of the books that I mentioned, I'll link down there as well. And then any other links you can use to support me will all be down in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you with my whole heart, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her. There must be something bad